Hey guys, it's Janet with bddpatterns.com. Thank you so much for stopping by today. If you're here, that means that you purchased the Tilly t-shirt crochet pattern and you're looking for some stitch support. That's great. Thanks again so much for supporting my little shop, and let me show you how easy it is to create this t-shirt. But as you can see from the pattern that the base is in multiples of 3. So you can chain whatever your size is, but I'm going to go ahead and chain 15 because I want to work over 12 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 3. 1, 2, 3. Now this is a very easy pattern. It's just a 1-row repeat, but you got to get the 2 foundation rows first, and that's where we're going to start. Okay, for the first foundation row, you're going to yarn over and do a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So this is the one that's on the hook. We don't want that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. And I'm going to get into how the first chain does count as a stitch and etc. But for right now, we're just going to go ahead and start with this. All right, so that is going to be our first working our first cluster. Next, we are going to chain 3. Now you're going to insert your hook into that same stitch and just do a slip stitch. And there's your first cluster. Yarn over, go into the 3rd chain, unworked, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to double crochet twice into that same stitch. I'm going to take my ring off because, good heavens, I'm getting stuck on that ring. Get out of here. In the first row, I won't kid you, the first row of anything, and this is no exception, is just a little bit wonky, but we're going to get through it. So that's 2 doubles, chain 3, and then back into that same stitch with a slip stitch. Okay, so now we're going to skip 2. And we're going to go into that third stitch, and we're going to do the same thing. 2 double crochets into that stitch. I'm down in my cone here, so I couldn't really set it down. I had to pull it up here, so it's a little awkward, but we're going to do it. Now chain 3 and then slip stitch back into that stitch. We've got 2 more to do. So 1, 2, 3, double crochet, twice into the same stitch. Slip stitch, and then go ahead and do the same shell, which is your double crochet twice, and then chain 3. And we're not going to turn here. We're just going to start working into the bottom rows. All right. That's the first foundation. The second foundation row is starting off, or you end the other row, either way, with a chain 3. Now, what we're going to look for here, guys, is we're going to look for the hole where we put in those 3 that cluster. In other words, the 2 double crochet and the chain 3 with the slip stitch. See, there's that hole, there's the hole, and there's, this one's a little wonky, but there's the hole there and the hole there. So if you look at this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 clusters, which really is just, this is the end, but we have to look at that as a cluster. Okay, so now we have chain 3, and we are going to go ahead, and this counts now as the first double crochet. So just then what you want to do is you want to put that second double crochet right into that hole where you did the shell from the previous row, and then just chain 3 again like you normally would. And then slip stitch. All right, here's our next hole right there, and I'm just kind of going over the tail so it doesn't get in the way. You can do that too if you don't want to weave it. It's always a bonus, right? Who does like to weave tails? I don't. All right, so we're going to do that double crochet again, and then chain 3. All right, into the next hole, the 2 double crochets, if you can get there, and the chain 3 slip stitch. Okay, now you can see what's happening here, and this is where it gets really interesting. So if you're working on your piece, which would be obviously much longer than this, you'll see how everything gets integrated into 2 panels. It's pretty crazy. But this will form the neckline scallops, and it'll also form the hemline scallops. So that's really, really cool. All right, let's finish this row because I want you to see how you go into the next row. Okay, there's our next hole. Okay, so we're just going to do our shell, which again consists of 2 double crochets, a chain 3, and a slip stitch. Okay, now here is our last hole, and we're still going to do, on the last hole you still do a full shell. It's only on the beginning of the row that you just use that first chain 3 as a 1 stitch. All right, so I've got my 2 double crochets in there, and I've got my chain 3 and my slip stitch, and I just finished the row. Now we're going to chain 3, and now we're going to turn and let the fun begin. Okay, this is the repeat row here. You just count this first 3 as your first double crochet stitch. So you yarn over and double crochet into that chain 3 space. Now we don't have to look for the holes anymore. We're just looking, excuse me, good heavens, for the chain 3 space. Okay, so then I've got my 2. Now I'm just going to chain 3. And this is what creates the space that we'll be working in from now on. Okay, now here's the next chain 3, and they're super easy to find once you get that foundation row going, the one that you're going to start working into. So all you do is just continue along with your shell pattern, which is 2 like that, which is 2 double crochets and a chain 3. And then at the end, don't forget, you do a full shell into that very last chain 3 space. And then when you turn, that's when the chain 3 starts as to count as the first stitch. There's just one more thing I would like to go over with you about this pattern. As I said before, you can see from the pattern it's super easy. It's just a 1-row repeat after you get these foundation rows down. And you can see right here I did complete, so this would actually be 3 rows. And you can see how there's borders on the sides, borders on the top, borders on the bottom, just little cute little scallops. But with that does come a way that you're going to have to sew this together. This is the t-shirt, and this is the right side of the t-shirt. So I'm just going to flip it and turn it to the wrong side so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so when you start with your shoulder seams, which is the first 2 seams that you're going to sew, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put your needle into this base stitch right here, and that's going to be, these are going to line up perfectly. This is super easy to sew, but it just requires a few more like details as to where the stitches go. And I just did a whip over or a binding stitch, which is just right over the stitches. But what you need to do is line these scallops up at the top, okay, and then just go into that base of the stitch. And then when you are doing this one here with the chains, you want to go through 2 loops of each side. So in other words, if I was sewing the back of this, I would have another panel that is the exact same size of this, and I would just line up the scallops. So I would be sewing through a total of 4 loops, 2 from the front panel and 2 from the back panel. And then there's this stitch right here, and that's basically where you start the next one, join it. So you've got your chains here that you're going to want to sew, and that's through 4, and then it's also through 4 here. So there's 2, see there's 2 loops here. All right, you would have the same thing on the back panel that you've got, and that's for the neckline. Now for the side seams, it is the exact same thing, only it's vertical instead of horizontal. You're going to want to go through the 2 loops of each of these chains, and then that connector chain or that connector stitch right there on that row, okay? And that way your top will be sewn very secure. But the seams on this really are, they're just very interesting. I mean, this is the wrong side, so you can see that. And then the right side. And as long as you sew it just that way, it's going to maintain this lacy look, yet your seam will be darn near invisible, but yet it'll still maintain that lacy open feel that the sweater has. Okay guys, that's it for the stitch technique video for the Tilly Tee. I hope that it was helpful. Again, always remember, my job is to help you. I want you to have success with all of my patterns. So if you have any questions, just reach out to hello@bddpatterns.com. I'm available Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 9 to 5, depending on where I'm at. But I will always get back to you within 24 business hours. Have a very blessed day.